Hello and welcome to Sim.boc. It was about time that I made something different there, wasn't it? I mean, I've been doing hello and welcome to Sim.bc for ages, mate. And we're probably going to continue because this didn't feel quite right. Now did it? It is about 1808 on the strike, mates. On the mark, because yet again, that's how we work, crucially, right? We're moving closer and closer to my appointed time of actually recording videos. So that feels great, in a way. In a way, it feels kind of stressful actually moving closer to 7, even though that is the time that I've been planning to do all of the videos, even though I've done them earlier, because now I'm actually soon on time. I'm still ahead, but still makes me kind of stressful that I'm soon on schedule. Anyway, mates, that's just my personal issue. Well, I know I sound crazy, don't I? Anyway, this video, or rather this week, I released today. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Today, I released a new topic highlight video. Why? Well, because it's February. Mate, one per month. That's the goal, right? That is the goal that I'm striving towards achieving. 52 news recaps, one song or one music video every quarter. I already released 2. I have half the year already done, and I have one in the making, mates. So close to 3 quarters done in like what, 1 month, 2 months. It's amazing, mates. The productivity here is off the charts. But why is it? Well, because I will be moving into thesis stuff soon, and then the channel will die. No, it won't, but it will be more focused on the thesis and about, schoolwork than it will be on this. But not that you care, mates. As long as you get them videos, you don't care how I produce them now, do you? No, you only care about that 10 to 20 minute, video coming up on your feed. That's the only thing you're looking for, right? You're only like, why is he talking about his personal issues? Why is he talking about personal problems? Am I right, people? Just get it over it and start with it. Well, because today, mates, we are going to move into something quite funny. I'm just gonna move myself around here. And what are we having? Well, we are having the 10th point that was actually supposed to be the final point, but I've added one as of now. I added one in the video 5. I think that I found out something that I want to introduce. So now we're actually having 11 points, not just 10 that we had from the beginning. Might see if I add some extras in there, reading ethics out of time. So maybe there is some ethical perspectives to questionnaires, making them better, not harder, not easier. We'll see before we make the review. But today's main topic is going to be take your questions for a test drive. And this is going to be crucial, mate. It's going to be crucial. But before we get into that you actually want to listen to, we're going to quickly review. And what are we going to review? Well, all of the videos up until now in a short manner, because, well, maybe this is the first video that you find. And maybe you're like, questions, 10th point, 11th point. What is he talking about? Have there been different points? Have I already missed half the video just because it was like 3 minutes? I just went to the bathroom and back, and now I missed half of the things. No worries, mates. We're gonna recap those in a nice manner. So, tips and tricks for making an in-between question that is not too hard, not too easy, and is interesting to your audience. As we have stated a countless number of times at this point, we know that people tend to drift both in and out of conversation when not feeling engaged, which makes them having a harder time understanding the context in which a question is asked, and hence making said question a harder experience, even though it objectively, based on the others in the room, might have been an easy one. So asking necessary questions in order to keep audience engagement is one thing, but it also needs to be kept short and simple. Not short in the sense that of a short discussion, but rather that the question takes 15 to 30 seconds to formulate, not 10 long minutes. And simple, not in a way that it should be an easy question, right? But in the sense that it should have an objective to answer instead of 15 different objectives, so that people actually know what you're looking for. Ask direct questions, not aggressively direct, not abstractly indirect. There's an art to it, but direct enough so that the audience knows the answer that you're looking for. Yet again, looking for, right? Because if they don't, they might think that the question is excessively hard or too easy, based on a miscommunication between you and the audience if you are the speaker. Posting one question at a time can help you as a lecturer to control the development of the discussion, while simultaneously engaging the audience through their own interaction in the form of answers. Plus, since the discussion will be broken up into different voices taking part, it's less likely for someone to drift out or completely fall asleep, mate, because that happens, during a presentation of a subject. Avoid leading and biased questions, no matter how much it can gain you personally. It generally does not benefit the group. This approach might close out future perspectives that otherwise could have made the discussion better and more vibrant. Remember to speak your respondent's language in order to not alienate a part of your audience and make everyone feel engaged. Rather that you introduce new terms during the course of the session than being unsure if they know it from before. Sometimes people will think that it is boring that you're reintroducing the same thing and restating the same thing, but sometimes you will add a different twist to it, right? And you spin to the term and spark an interest in an old subject. This part is really hard and is unfortunately only gained through trial and error, and error, and error, and error. Use scaling whenever possible, when it makes sense though, in order to make an easy question a bit more complex through adding another layer to the conversation, and simultaneously making hard questions easier by letting the audience being able to rely on that, well, this is just my own opinion, this is just how I feel. When talking about metrics and grids, a general feedback is, among the many sources of potential error that can affect surveys are respondents themselves. They sometimes misinterpret the question's response in socially acceptable ways or give easy answers right in hope that a more interesting question is just around the corner. With other words, information overload. Try and not rely too much on audience if they answer you with a yes or no. Instead, try to rephrase the question so that the audience need to show that they have actually understood or that they actually do not understand what you're talking about. Wow, wasn't that a lot? That was like half the video right there, and just like a recap, a sort of review of what we've done. But at least if this is your first video, you're up to speed, because that was point 1 to 10 and the introduction all in 4 minutes. So if you didn't get all of that, well, check out the other videos, mates, because we're going in depth, like we're deep diving into it. But yeah, today we're going to mainly focus about take your questions for a test drive. And what do I mean with that? Well, basically, if you take into consideration all of the things that I just recapped now, all of the different reviews, make it short, make it simple, make it necessary, make it not too hard, not too easy. You're trying to make it not too hard, not too easy. That's the entire objective of this. Well, then take all your questions for a test spin, because when you think that your questions is the best that they can be, well, spoilers alert, mates, it probably ain't, right? It's probably, what you would say, 60% done when you feel that this is perfection. If it gets any better than this, I'll bet that God himself is gonna come down to earth and just hand me the keys to heaven, because better questions than this, well, you can't find that anywhere, now can you? But when you generally feel like that, it's about 60% done. Probably you will have a problem with, well, probably you will have a problem, pun intended, mates. You will have a problem with your miscommunication, because yet again, we've been talking about this difference in language, this difference in terminology, this difference in context. And especially if you've started with this huge question in order to get all of the information in there, right? And you cut it down in order to make it short, concise, and necessary, right? And simple and to the point enough. Maybe you know the full context of which the question is posed. Maybe the people who are going to take the questionnaire or the people who's going to answer you in class do not understand the context. Maybe because they've been drifting in or out of conversation during the lecture, or because when they're answering the survey, they're looking at like, here it says, what do you think is best? 1, 2, 3, or green. And for you, that's obvious. It's 1 car, 2 cars, or a green car. But for them, it's just 1, 2, and green. And you're thinking like, oh, I've taken out all the unnecessary information because it will be obvious when they get there. You know, they're gonna know what I mean, right? But they will be there, the respondents, and you say, well, isn't it usually 1x2? Why is it 1, 2 green? What should I choose here? You see the difference here, that you thought that you made something that's amazing, and then you worked that down and made it even better, and then you've taken out all the unnecessary information, and now you're just left with the core message of which you want answered. And all the people who are going to answer your questions are gonna sit there and say, either this is super easy, right? Because, well, you missed out half the complexity of the question by mistake because you've taken away unnecessary information that apparently built lots and lots of context for the person who's going to reply. Or the people are going to say like, this is horrible, I can't answer this. Even if I, gathered a team of people, we couldn't answer this for days. We could have stumbling on this for days. I mean, this is harder than how they assembled the pyramids back in the day. And all that you really are missing is that you said, well, I only wanted you to give one answer, but I see that that is not obvious when I said, what's your opinion about life? See what I'm saying here? Instead of saying, like, maybe you've missed out something really crucially important in your question here, which makes it unnaturally hard or super easy. People are just perceiving it as like, this is a question. Really? You wasted me time with this? So take your questions for a test drive and be able to take the critique. Because I myself is someone who is having a really hard time taking critique. Even if it's good or bad, I don't like it either way, because I think that I should have known that from the beginning. And it's something that I've been working on my entire life, and now I can, well, take it somehow, right? I can actually utilize it without getting angry at myself, and I can actually implement it. But it's something that you need to start with early, and if you haven't done so already, do it now. Because the later you start with it, the harder it's going to get, because you will have your patterns, right? You will have your patterns in which you're working in, you will have your understanding how you operate. The faster you change something like that, the faster you're recognizing your own weakness and, you know, taking critique, the better it will get. But that's the discussion for another time. Anyway, taking your questions for a test drive and accepting the critique, that's one thing, right? But now you gotta do it again, because you will probably think that this is the best thing ever. You're handing it out, people are saying we didn't understand it, you get it back, you're saying, oh, well, obviously, now that I've seen what you didn't understand, it's obvious why you didn't understand it. Now I'm just gonna change one or two things, blah, blah, blah. And, well, now it's perfection again. Now God can give me back the keys to heaven, right? And you give it out, and people are, yet again, you know, because you give it out to other people. People who are objectively didn't understand, so that they don't know the context of which the questions are posting yet again, because that should be obvious from the questionnaire. Or you're saying the same thing again, but with a new class of people, to a new audience, stating the same perfected questions, right? And these people are still going to come up with different things that they didn't understand, or that they thought were vague, or that they thought were weird. This is a reason, right, for why when you've been in contact with big companies' customer services, they almost always send out kind of a text or a call or an email saying, can you rate us? Can you say what was good or bad? Can you say that what we need to work on? Because this is kind of the same thing, because the people sitting there in the customer service, they are like taking their customer service for a test drive each and every time, because they want to work towards perfection. They want to make it better and better and better. So take your questions for a test drive so that you realize what is wrong with your questions, what is not obvious, what did you think was obvious that they didn't. Kind of like what I want you to do with the comment section below on all of my videos, right? What do you think? What do I think? Was I wrong? Were you wrong? How can we discuss this? How can we make it better? How can we learn together? That's the entire idea about, like, behind this process. And you don't only need to do it once. And I'm not saying only as, oh, you don't only need to do it once, mates. You need to do this maybe 5 times, depending on how important the questions are. And maybe if you're a student, like, or if you're a lecturer, sorry. Maybe if you're a lecturer, a PhD student, that's what I meant, that's going to become a lecturer in the future. You're pursuing the academic world. You're saying, management, that's not for me, mates. That's not for me. I want to study the life out. Well, maybe you want to do, when you're a PhD student, maybe you want to take your questions for test drives on your audience, so that when you're a PhD, when you're done with your PhD, when you're a doctorate, you can stand there and talk to the audience, and you can pose the correct questions that is going to be in the middle. It's not going to be easy, right? But it's not going to be extremely, excessively, uncomparably hard either. It's going to be exactly correct in the middle. It's going to be challenging, but not so challenging that people are going to walk away from it, but challenging enough that people are going to engage in it, and that's what you want, right? So take your questions for a test drive, do it more than once, accept the critique, and give God back his key to heaven, because you're far from done. And that is the last point of the original 10 points that I was going to cover. Now we have an 11th, and maybe more will come. Otherwise, the review is going to be in a few days, mates, depending on how we're going to work with this. So anyway, mates, that was everything from me. Hope that you enjoyed this one. And if you did, leave a like, subscribe, and comment. Join the discussion below. What did you think? What did you not think? What should I change? What should I not change? Is this perfection? I thought it was kind of good, right? I think this is the best thing. You know, give God back his key to heaven so he can give it to me, because, you know, I, or she, for that matter, I will use it, because this is the best video that has probably ever been made all across the internet. And of course, I'm going to try to enforce my point here. I'm not going to claim that. So don't quote me on that, please, mates. A common theme on the uploaded topic highlight that I just released with Economic Overview and World Trade Simplified, right? So go check that out if you have nothing else to do, mates. And even if you have something else to do, think about the opportunity cost here. What are you going to give up in order to watch this? Probably a lot, because it's pretty good. Anyway, mates, have a nice one. I'll see you tomorrow.